All right, so in this video, we're going to be going through the second page of the Chapter 5 review number 2, starting at number 10. So for this first section here, it says write each equation in slope-intercept form, or y equals mx plus b, using the given information. Okay, so the first one here says write the equation of a line whose slope is -3 and whose y-intercept is 1.5. So if we want to write the equation of a line in slope-intercept form, we need the slope and we need the y-intercept. And that's actually what we're given here in this first problem. We're given the slope at -3 and the y-intercept at 1.5. So I can just go ahead and plug in -3 for m and 1.5 for b. So the equation of the line for this one would be y is equal to -3x plus 1.5. The next one says write the equation of a line that passes through the point -2, 3 and has a slope of 5/7. So let's ask ourselves, well, what do we know? We know a point and we know a slope. And so if we know a point and we know a slope, we can plug that into point slope. So again, just to remind you, here's the order we want to go in. We're currently here. We know a point and a slope, so we can plug it into point slope. However, I want my final answer to be in slope-intercept form. So after I plug it into point slope form, I'm going to distribute and solve for y to get it in this final slope-intercept form that I want as my final answer. So just to remind you, point slope form is y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. So again, I'm going to plug in this given information to this formula. So I have y minus y1, and in this case, y1 is 3, is equal to m, which is the slope, 5/7, times x minus x1. And x1 in this case is -2. And again, you want to plug in that -2 in parentheses so you keep that negative sign with it. I'm going to clean this up a bit, and I have y minus 3 is equal to 5/7 times x plus 2. So now that I've written it in point slope form, I'm going to distribute and solve for y. So I'm going to distribute the 5/7. I'm going to continue up here. So y minus 3 is equal to 5/7 x plus 10/7. So I've distributed. Now I'm going to solve for y. I'm going to add 3 to both sides. Okay, and I'm going to do this work down here. So 10/7 plus 3/1. Well, I need to make a common denominator. So I'll make a common denominator of 7. To go from 1 to 7, I multiplied by 7. So I multiply the top by 7 as well, which is 21. And so I get 31/7. Okay, so my slope is 5/7. My y-intercept I just found to be 31/7. So this equation of the line is y is equal to 5/7 x plus 31/7. All right, the next one says write the equation of a line that is perpendicular to y equals -6x plus 1. So perpendicular, we know, means that they'll form at a 90-degree angle, look like a T, and they'll have slopes that are opposite reciprocals. So if the slope of the line that we're given is -6, the opposite reciprocal of -6 means I'm going to change the sign to be positive. That's what opposite means. And then reciprocal means to flip the fraction. So if this is 6/1, the reciprocal of that is 1/6. So this is the slope we're given. A slope perpendicular to that would be positive 1/6. So my equation that I'm going to write needs a positive 1/6 as my slope. And then since we're not going through any point specifically, it doesn't tell us that we go through a specific point, we can just come up with any y-intercept that we want. So 5, for example, could be the y-intercept, okay? So you can create any y-intercept there. The only thing you really need to focus on is just having that slope as that opposite reciprocal. Okay, we're going to skip number 13 because there is not a problem like this on the test, so you don't need to worry about number 13. Number 14 says, write the equation of a line that is parallel to y equals -1/2 x minus 3 and passes through the point -4, 1. So this one we know the line that we want is parallel to this line, and we know we go through this point -4, 1. So again, parallel means that we'll have the same slope. We'll have an identical slope. So if the slope of this line that we're given is -1/2, the slope of the line that's parallel to that, the slope of the line that I want, is also -1/2. So my slope is -1/2. That's what I know from it being parallel to this. I also have a point. So again, let's ask ourselves, what do we know? Well, we know a point and we know a slope. And if we know a point and a slope, we can plug that into point slope. So y minus y1, which is 1, is equal to the slope, which is -1/2, times x minus x1, which in this case is -4. And again, we'll put that in parentheses. I clean it up a bit to say x plus 4. And then my final answer has to be in slope-intercept form. So once I'm in this form here, I'm going to distribute and solve for y. So I'm going to distribute -1/2. Y minus 1 is equal to -1/2 x minus 2. I add 1 to both sides. So y is equal to -1/2 x minus 1. Okay, the next one says, write the equation of a line whose slope is undefined and passes through the point 5, -9. So remember, slope undefined is one of our special cases, and this one is actually VUX. It's a vertical line because it has an undefined slope, and it is written in the form x equals a number. Now, we're told that it goes through this specific point, which means the x value has to be the point that, or the x value in the point that we're given. So x is equal to 5 in this case. All right, number 16, it says, write the equation of a line that is perpendicular to y equals 5. Okay, so again, perpendicular means it will look like this. It will be two lines that form at a 90-degree angle here, like a perfect T. This line that we're given is a horizontal line, okay? It's y equals a number, so it's a horizontal line. So here's the line we're given, and we want a line that is perpendicular to that. So we want a vertical line, okay? If this is y equals 5, a line that would be perpendicular to that would be a vertical line. And it could be any vertical line. It could be this vertical line. It could be this vertical line, okay? Any vertical line. So our answer here would be an equation line that's perpendicular to that would be x equals, and you could put any number here. It'd be any vertical line would work. So x equals 7, for example, would work. Okay, and we're actually going to skip this last problem as well. It is not on the test either, so you don't need to worry about that one. Moving down to number 18, it says, write an equation or an equivalent equation in slope-intercept form. Okay, so here the equation we're given is in point-slope form. I want to write this in slope-intercept form. So again, just to remind you, here we are, we're in point-slope form. To get to slope-intercept form, I need to distribute and solve for y. Okay, so I'm going to distribute -2x plus 8. And then I'm going to solve for y by subtracting 5 from both sides. So y is equal to -2x plus 3. Okay, so this equation here and this equation here are equivalent. They're just in different forms. The next one says, write an equivalent equation in standard form. Okay, so standard form is when we want to have the x and the y on the same side with no fractions or decimals. So the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to get rid of these fractions. And to do so, I'm going to multiply the whole thing by the common denominator. Now this one is pretty straightforward because these two fractions already have a common denominator of 3. So I'm going to multiply the whole equation by their common denominator 3. And when I do that, I have 3 times y, which is 3y, is equal to 3 times 2/3 x, and 3 times 2/3 x is 2x. And 3 times -5/3 is just -5. And the reason we multiply by that common denominator is because this will cancel out these denominators, and you're just left with 2x and -5. Now that I have gotten rid of the fractions, I need to move the x over here with the y. So I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. -2x plus 3y is equal to -5. Now, as we discussed in class, this is a perfectly acceptable answer. You can leave your answer like this. However, true traditional standard form doesn't allow you to have this -a, this negative leading coefficient out in front. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how you would fix that. But again, this answer right here would be okay. If I wanted to go ahead and fix that, I would multiply this entire thing by -1. When I do that, I'm going to change the sign of each piece. So -1 times -2 is positive 2x. -1 times positive 3 is -3y. And -1 times -5 is positive 5. Okay, so this would be true standard form, but this answer here would work as well. I would accept either of those answers. Okay. The last couple problems here are finding the x and y intercepts, and it reminds you your final answer needs to be ordered pairs. So if I'm finding the x-intercept, that is when y is equal to 0. So I'm going to substitute in 0 for y. So -5x minus 2 times 0 is equal to 20. Well, -2 times 0 is just 0, so I really have -5x is equal to 20. And if I divide both sides by -5, I see that x is -4. So when y was 0 and x was -4, the x-intercept is -4, 0. Similarly, for the y-intercept, this is when x is 0, so I'm going to plug in 0 for x. So I have -5 times 0 minus 2y is equal to 20. -5 times 0 is 0, so I have -2y is equal to 20. I divide both sides by -2, so y is equal to -10. And in this case, x was 0, y was -10, so it should be 0, -10. Okay, the next one, you'll notice this one isn't in standard form. You can convert it to be in standard form like this if you want, but you don't necessarily have to. So if I want to find the x-intercept, that's when y is 0. So I'm going to plug in 0 for y. So 0 is equal to -3/4 x plus 9. I subtract 9 from both sides. So -9 is equal to -3/4 x. To undo this multiplication of -3/4, I multiply by the reciprocal, which is -4/3. And I see that that is 12. So when y was 0 and x was 12, the ordered pair is 12, 0. And then for the y-intercept, that's when x is 0. So I'll plug in 0 for x. -3/4 times 0 is 0, so y is just equal to 9. So when x was 0 and y was 9, the ordered pair is 0, 9. Now, you didn't necessarily have to do any of this math here to find the y-intercept, because this equation is in y equals mx plus b, which means that 9 is the y-intercept because this is slope-intercept form. So you could have just taken a look at that and seen that the y-intercept was 0, 9.